Mhm.
Good afternoon, everyone.
मम्मी
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. And
Good
we are
afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
afternoon. This is our fourth session today. Sorry, I'm a little late, little logistics issue. So can everybody see me and hear me? If you can't, please put it in the chat window.
We can see you, we can hear you. Thank you.
Right, thanks a lot. And let us begin. How many participants are we right now? 29. That's all. We'll wait for another minute or two. Mm. How many have done the case study which I'd sent for homework? Matsushita, HR reforms at Matsushita. Or are you looking surprised? What case study? Okay, everyone is mute. So Rahul has said he's done the case study. Yes, I can see Rahul. How many people have done it at least?
I have also done the case study.
Payal has done the case study. Wonderful. Anyone else done the case study?
I have done it, ma'am, Sneha.
Excellent, Sneha. Excellent, excellent. So at least we have three people we can discuss, the case study amongst ourselves if nobody else has.
Ma'am, I have also done. Anika here.
Very good.
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Anamitra,
Yes, ma'am.
have you read the case study?
Yes, ma'am. I have prepared the responses also, ma'am.
Wonderful.
I wouldn't miss your class for anything in the world, ma'am.
Absolutely. What Zoom can do for us, no?
Sorry, ma'am.
You see what Zoom can do. We have something called Zoom gestures. So if I
Yeah.
do this,
Yes, ma'am.
but when I see when you say you have said and you've studied the case study, this is what I do, and then you get a wow, wunderbar effect.
Yes, ma'am.
But if it's only one thumbs up, then yeah, I agree with you. Right?
Okay, ma'am. Here's another one.
Yeah, but you got to celebrate. You want to celebrate?
Yeah.
Want to celebrate? Anyone wants to celebrate?
Yes, ma'am. Celebrating, ma'am.
I don't know when this happened, but I just discovered my computer has got these updates which have all these gesture recognitions. And we don't know when AI is impacting us and when AI is not impacting us. And
It's a new
Yeah.
feature that was launched in macOS Sonoma, which is called as present overlay and reactions. So since I work as a trainer at Apple, so yes, so it excites me whenever you ask me about this. Yeah.
fantastic. So I've got a Mac, and when I updated it, I found this has happened, and it goes across all platforms, whether I'm doing a WhatsApp or whether I'm doing a FaceTime call or whether I'm doing a Zoom call or a WebEx or a Microsoft Teams. I still have the same gestures working. I really
Yes.
don't know who managed it and how, but there must have been some strategy somewhere and some
It
HR
must be AI, ma'am.
strategy.
It's machine learning, yes.
Yeah, but some man or woman has created a strategy to implement it and roll it out and make it a delight item. And some HR must have supported that initiative, no? If HR
Yeah.
had a strategic intention, then nothing would have happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, isn't it? So that's again what we are going to talk about today, HR business strategy, and how when they work together, they produce great results. And the Matsushita case study is a fantastic example of how
Yes,
things,
ma'am, it is.
that was the first big paradigm shift we had in business since perhaps, for a long time, industrial revolution happened and yeah, we grew slowly. But the biggest shift was, when lifelong employment, job security, liberalization, privatization, globalization, all these impacted businesses in such a way that now we have to wake up and create strategy for ourselves to succeed. Earlier, the only strategy
You're right, ma'am.
it was that we had to go to the government and get a license and we had to pay bribes for that or public lobby, whatever you might want to say. But we had to get a license and we had to produce and we had to create results. Results were guaranteed. But LPG came, and once all this revolution happened, which Matsushita has witnessed also, paradigm shifted and people felt that now we need to have a strategy, otherwise we'll get wiped out. Right? So Anamita, you raise your hand.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. This core competency issue by C.K. Prahlad also created a major impact with it has a political angle to it also. Deng Xiaoping latched onto it and decided that he should open up China and bring in the manufacturing. So in the end, what happened was China ran away with the manufacturing jobs, India ran away with the service jobs. and you may be manufacturing a jeans for $1,200, selling a jeans for $1,200 and manufacturing it for $200. But who's there to buy it?
True.
That's a big question.
Credit to CK Prahlad.
Sorry, ma'am.
I won't give the credit to CK Prahlad.
Yeah.
You said it all began with CK Prahlad. I said I will not give him that credit because it was already in motion. It just got accelerated. You know, when the
Yeah, that core competency and hyper competition in the American and Western companies that probably accelerated this trend.
competitive advantage of nations, I think the writers and the academicians came after the reality. We, as academicians, we only document what organizations do, and then we create case studies around it, and then we say, hey, we invented the wheel, but we didn't actually. It is outside academics, outside CK Prahlad, outside Michael Porter, outside even that is actually creating the change that you. So also with Matsushita, there was Matsushita, who was the erstwhile, owner, promoter, managing director, head honcho, leader of Matsushita Corporation. And once he passed, then let me just pull out the case study. HRM systems are reformed. So I hope everyone can see the case study in front of them if they've not read it.
Yes, ma'am, I have a printout.
So, once Konosuke Matsushita passed, there was Kunio Nakamura in 2001, who decided that now enough is enough. We have lifetime employment in our company, and that doesn't work because it's very competitive, and we remain on our feet, and we have to compete with the environment. So Matsushita Corporation created a slate of strategically placed incentives in HR to reform human resources. The case is in front of you.
Yes, ma'am, it's in front of me.
In front of everybody, yes. Okay.
Ma'am, on the screen,
I
we
have a
see the
printout.
questions, I think.
You see the questions.
Yes.
If you want to see the case study, please look at the email that must have come to you from the diploma office.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Sent it to some student also. I had sent it to be forwarded in groups. So, so you can see. Now, if you go to the MIT Sloan School of Management in Boston, which is a competitor to Harvard, you find over there is a chair for leadership. And it's called the Konosuke Matsushita Chair for Leadership Studies. And under that aegis, they do a lot of studies on what leadership works and what leadership doesn't work. And in this case, there was a definite shift away from what we in India also called a welfare organization, and we called a welfare society or labor-friendly labor laws. Everything was in favor of laborers. The trade unions would hold managements to ransom. And there was also lifetime employment guaranteed and big bonuses guaranteed. So my father, for example, he worked for one company all his life, and that company is called Voltas Limited. All his life he spent over there. But today, if you think, nobody thinks beyond 3 years of service in any organization. And yesterday I uncovered a survey by Gallup that said that more than half the people in any organization across the globe are contemplating a job change. More than half. It's actually 51% of people anywhere, all over the world in large corporates are contemplating a shift in job and are contemplating leaving their jobs and quitting. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But that's the nature of the world today. The talent is very volatile. And the trend actually started in late 90s, and Matsushita was a little late on the trend, 2001. In India, we witnessed Manmohan Singh's LPG government. So I want to now not debrief too much on the case right now. I'd like you to get into small groups and discuss what you feel are the answers to these 3 questions. First, of course, you have to see why did they make the change, okay, in the lifetime employment policy for human resources. Why was that change needed? Why did, there was a lot of government pressures, there were policy changes in the government, labor law changes, etc., etc. And then a brief description of what were these changes so that at least you understand and know that these were not isolated initiatives that HR did. There was a bigger strategic intent behind them. And the last one, do you agree or do you disagree? Because lots of things worked and lots of things didn't work. So I'm putting you in breakout rooms. How many participants are we right now? 55 participants. So let me put you into 10 breakout rooms. Do we expect more? 10 breakout rooms. So I wanted to discuss the answers to these 3 questions. Then it will be difficult for me to give each of you, each of the groups a space to, give what they have to give. I will only give my analysis of the case. And so what you will learn from is your breakout room discussion. And you will also learn from my analysis of the case as well.
Ma'am, I didn't receive a invite yet for a breakout room.
Yes, I'm just sending out. So I've got 10 breakout rooms here. You will get an invite starting now.
Okay, ma'am.
You have 15 minutes. Actually, 15 is too much, but 15 minutes for 3 questions. 5 minutes per question.
Ma'am, I didn't get the breakout room, ma'am.
You'll get it. It's coming. If you haven't joined your breakout room, it means you're not present. I can call out the names of all those who haven't joined their breakout rooms. Pragya Sampati, Pooja Matre, Rachna Slatia, Ankita Gaude, Gauri Indukar, Ashwini Vadavkar. Please join your breakout rooms. Otherwise, it means you've just logged in and you're not paying attention to what's happening. You're not present. Ashwini Vadavkar, can you hear me? Ankita Gaude, can you hear me? Gauri Indurkar, can you hear me? Sampata Pragya, can you hear me? You can't hear me because you're not there. You put yourself on mute, you turn your camera off, and then you vanish. You've marked your attendance, but boy, have you lost out. Okay, now Gauri is the only one who's absent. 10 minutes. Those who came late wonder what happened. Shantanu, Vinod, don't know what happened. Where's everybody? Sampati and Gauri still not clued in.
Ma'am, reporting. Thank you.
Thank
Ma'am,
you for coming back.
always.
I visited 3 rooms and I sat there silently because nobody was saying anything.
So everywhere the
Oh.
same, ma'am.
Ma'am, there was a lot of research work in this topic. Sorry to admit that.
You had the whole week to read the case study.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever see Sachin Tendulkar saying, "Hey, ek minute, I'm going home to do my homework and wait for me"? No, when you're on the pitch, you got to perform. That's why we do this classes. Otherwise, we could just send you all material, do it in your own time.
Ma'am, I referred to 2 articles.
Yes.
One was Why Innovation Depends on Intellectual Honesty by Jeff Dyer et al. Published in MIT SMR Jan 23. And Take a Skill-Based Approach to Culture Change by Per Hugander, MIT SMR 23, May 23.
Yeah.
And one analyzed it through the Edgar Skene model for organizational culture, and one was the comfortable culture through the quadrangle part of it. Jeff Dyer analyzed it through the quadrangle part of it. I found it exactly fitting this case study to the T. I don't know, ma'am, if you'll agree.
So you learned about some conceptual framework.
Yes, ma'am, I
That
did.
applies in this case.
Yes, ma'am. This applies to this case.
What did this case to teach you?
Sorry, ma'am.
What did this case teach you? How to search for the answer online?
Ma'am, that you always have to have HR built into your business strategy policy. Otherwise, people are the most important assets of any company. And unless you have them on board, we cannot have a successful operation.
That is what I call a motherhood statement because it's not real. It's not real. There's no reality in what you're saying. Okay. Sorry for that. I'm being
No,
a word. But then the answer lies in looking at the data, what the case has got, and then deriving a framework for it, and then
Yes,
deriving your insights for it. That's how it works. Why do we otherwise bring case studies? I have no idea which 2 articles you have read and what you're talking about with reference to this case study. For me, the case study has got its data, its matter, and let's learn from that. Okay. All right. So shall we I will share with you what I feel about the case study. I went to 3 different breakout rooms and I found that mostly they were silent because when I look at what information I get on my screen, I can only see the names of people in every room and I can see which person is talking because that mic is going, black and white, and which person is muted. I found 3 rooms in which there was everybody muted. In one room, everybody was muted. In one room, everybody was muted except one person, but who was not speaking. And in another room, everybody was muted except one person when no one was speaking. So I was wondering what is the value of having these breakout rooms in the first place. So if homework means some rigor has got to be there. If we do not build in the rigor, then we hear things that, the diploma program is not going to add value. And how will it add value if you refuse to take the value from it? The value is there for you to take. If you don't take the value from the diploma program, then it means that you're not interested in the program and the value it gives you. You're just interested in the diploma at the end of it. So please take your homework seriously, because if you take your homework seriously, only you will get paid for it. And what is your intention to be here is to learn. You will get value for what you engage with. If you don't engage, then you don't get value. It's as simple as that.
Ma'am, in my room, everyone was a contributor. I was in room 3.
Yeah, there were 2-3 rooms in which I saw a lot of action happening. I saw a lot of action happening in 2-3 rooms, I must say that. But out of 10, there were 3 rooms definitely where there was no action.
Understand. Yeah.
Sorry if I should have put that in that perspective, but I'm glad you had a lot of good discussion in at least 7 out of 10 rooms. There's no time for me to elicit information from you because there are 1,000 cuts to this case study. You can look at it from any angle you wish. My take is that, there is the world of work and industry and organization is a world where win-win is important. Employees win and employers also win. In the era of lifetime employment, and in Matsushita started in 1918, which was the beginning of what we call the industrial era. When we give a lifetime employment, we give job security that you will be here for the rest of your life. We still find it in India in so many public sector companies and many private sector companies also. We still have the concept of lifetime employment. When we do that, we pave the way for either the management wins or the employee wins. Both can't win. We pave the way for that kind of a scenario. So in some cases, the management generally will pay a lot less salary, but they'll give you lifetime employment. You see that in our public sectors very often. The salary is not equivalent to private sector, but you've got job security. So you get away with a lesser manpower bill, and employees get away with a lot of job security. They want, they perform. If they don't want, they don't perform. And they will not get promoted either. Everybody gets promoted based on their seniority and their place in the hierarchy. So to me, that is not a win-win situation, because management has given you a job and there is a duty, a set of expectations, there's a set of outcomes that is expected from that job. And if those outcomes are not met, then why should the management invest? So also was Nakamura's thinking in 2001 when he brought a change up from 1918 till 2001, the lifetime employment happened. And he brought the changes in 2001. He was simply trying to establish a win-win. He was trying to establish a win-win. So moving away from a welfare orientation to a more equitable, mutuality-based orientation, where we are not here to take care of your welfare, but yes, we are here to establish that both of us benefit in the long run. So we create a win-win. And part of the reason why I also teach this course is that my firm belief is that business is meant for creating mutual benefit. And we have to move in that direction. If we have a business where employers are investing in keeping employees happy and satisfied, but their employees are not productive, then to me it is a untenable scenario. And we see that happening in many of the companies where lifetime employment is guaranteed. If we find situations where employees, they form their unions or whatever they form, and then they hold the management to ransom and say, if you don't meet our demands, we're going to stop work. And we're going to stop work, you're going to lose your business or your competitive advantage. So when we have employees who are collectively reducing the quality of their work or reducing the input in exchange for more demands, then the management loses, the employees win. So it becomes a win-lose situation in both cases. And in India, before 1990s, before we had the liberalization brought in by Manmohan Singh, Prime Minister, before we had that scenario, we found that was what was happening. Employees were holding managements to ransom and demanding unreasonable amount of monetary and other kind of rewards. And managements were either exploiting workers or they were only welfare oriented. So there was no win-win that got established. One of the things that happened when the free market opened up, and when Matsushita also found the government also had more liberal policies and more competition was allowed to come in, then, and the pension funds also drew up and the provident funds also, they dried up. There was no security for the people. Then the company also said, hey, listen, we've got to look at establishing win-win. So the 5 or 6 HR initiatives that Nakamura actually launched in the organization, there was something called Panasonic spin-off fund, which means that people who were asked to retire or given a voluntary retirement or asked to retire early, they were given a little startup funding if they wanted to start their own business. Then they had, of course, they had the voluntary retirement scheme, which was sometimes not voluntary, and it was reported that people were forced to take the retirement and leave the organizations. So then there were still some other initiatives like that. There was a flexible payment system. There was a promoting exciting work, so there was more engagement with employees, and then there was assessment program. So if people want to get a promotion or move up in the organization, they had to undergo an assessment process to make sure that they were not getting a time-bound promotion, but it was based on their competencies. So a lot of move was the 6 programs moved the organization towards a win-win. And to me, when you are taking, or you are saying, hey, listen, what's in it for me? Organizations say, I will take care of you, but you also have to take care of me. Then people do not appreciate the change always because they're so used to sitting there, not performing and getting their lifetime benefits, And when they're asked to perform and they're asked to produce outcomes, they do not like it. So that's why there was a little bit of a bad name that came up. There were some reports that people were being forced to take retirement and that there were some skirmishes here and there. So there was a little bit rough weather that they encountered. And because of that rough weather, there were a lot of question marks that did Nakamura do the right thing or did he not do the right thing? So my personal feeling is that he did have the right philosophy and the right intention and the right motivation. And he did take decisions that were right in his mind and the mind of the rest of the organization in alignment with the way the world is going. Whether it was the best way or whether there were better ways, we will never know that. But this was definitely something that produced the right outcomes for the organization. So having said that, I have written a nice analysis of the case study. I will mail that to you, which is some of everything that I've said. And you can have that answer also for yourself. So I hope you've learned from reading the case study. That's the biggest reading. I hope you've learned from the group discussions in the breakout rooms. And I also hope that you've learned from my analysis of the case study and you would have understood what is the need for HR and how does HR actually align with business and the needs of the business. So that was my purpose in having this case study. It's a beautifully written case study and a great example for us. Yes, Jugal Kishore, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, Dr. Baduk, would you be able to throw some light on one more aspect? Because I think if you go through that entire study, there were certain pointers where the org wanted to be the profitable, correct? Where you, I think, called out this particular point that there should be a win situation for organization and one situation for the employee. So the person who took the position of CEO, he wanted to have a win-win situation in both the things.
Yeah.
So I think they actually not laying off people, but they were promoting this kind of a culture. If you really would like to have a voluntary resignation sort of a thing, with limited, not exactly the similar kind of compensations or the benefits which company was offering earlier. They started motivating people to learn, or maybe I think to upskill for a specific job, or maybe they were trying to deploy certain people from a different department to another one also.
Yeah.
So how should we look at this perspective? Because nowadays, I think you must be seeing every year, whenever the appraisal cycles are happening or maybe going on, there are certain news which are popping up, or maybe I think which are flooding into the newspapers and the media, that these organizations are laying off people, or somewhere they are stopping the appraisal. They are not giving the appraisals to the board of directors or to the director level or above. But somewhere they are not laying off. So should we say that, okay, this is a win situation for the employee, that they still have a job,
So in India, we still suffer the hangover of lifetime employment. We still suffer that in India. And I'm using the word suffer because just yesterday I was facilitating a panel discussion on talent retention and talent attrition. And the lady was saying that, last year we had, they're in a business where they are catering to the US market, and there's a US market is in recession. So they had to lay off employees who were, and so they really don't have proper attrition figures to report, because a lot of it was actually layoff. But she said, oh, but you know what? We tried our very best to redeploy them on other projects. We found a way to upskill them and change them. So we still find it in our country very hard to take a decision that, hey, listen, this relationship is not giving a win-win situation to me, and I cannot, terminate it. So I somehow managed, so we still not clear uh, about where we stand vis-a-vis a win-win decision. Our leadership is still very soft when it comes to taking that kind of a call in business. So I do believe that eventually, you will end up having a lot of deadwood, and we carry the deadwood for years. You'll see the public sector, so many banks and others, they're just carrying deadwood for years and years and years. People retire from the company, not having produced any output or not having done any significant contribution at all whatsoever. So in India, we still have the hangover of the job security, because a large chunk of public sector definitely and large chunk of private sector still believes in lifetime employment, because they don't want to take a call in the business bottom line. So I have to move on. Yes, Anna Mitra. I just got 30 seconds only now.
Yes, ma'am. The educational sector is replete with this example, ma'am. We have teachers who really have no accountability.
True. Very true. I have a philosophy. If you want, I can share that.
Yes.
There is now I'm getting a little bit into Sanskritization. They say that there are 4 kinds of beings in the world. 4 kinds of human beings. 4 kinds of beings in the world. One is what in Hindi they call devta. जो अपना भला नहीं सोचता, दूसरों का भला सोचता है. You think for the welfare of others. So we have devta organizations also and devta employers also. Don't think about your benefit, think only for others' benefit. And these are humane. It's a humane way of life. But eventually the company runs dry and nothing comes of it, and you do not gain a competitive advantage. You're okay if you're a devta company or a welfare-oriented company in a market which is fixed, and your customers are guaranteed, and you can charge them whatever you want, and you can pay your employees whatever you want, and carry all the deadwood with them, because you have got a kind of a monopoly in your business, or you've got captive customers in your domain. So it's still not optimum way of doing business, because your customers are paying the bill for your welfare activities, actually speaking. They are subsidizing your welfare activities. It's not fair to load them on that, load it on.
Right.
That is devta. Second is manav, second kind of being, which is my benefit and your benefit. खुद का भी भला करता है, दूसरों का भी भला करता है. So it's a concept in our philosophy which we call sarva kalyan, which means everybody benefits, which in American terminology is termed as win-win. Okay, it's termed as a win-win. So the idea is, and we say that is a human, manav is human. And if you look at some of the scriptures, they always say being human is better, because we are living in a house in the sansar. We are living in the sansar. You want to be a devta, go to the NGOs and do your service there. Give to the world, give back to society. But when you're living in a competitive environment, you have got duties to do, you've got responsibilities to discharge. So live like a manav who works for his own benefit as well as for the benefit of others. We look for a win-win situation. And then the third kind of being is the asura, who thinks only of his own benefit and not of others. So now we have seen many asura organizations also. They're exploitative. They're profiteering. They're not profit-making. They're profiteering. They're greedy. And they're looking for only their own benefit and not the benefit of employees. We see that in many of the startups. We see that in many of the young organizations. that they're exploitative in nature. So they work like asuras. But one thing is there, wherever there's an asura, there's also a devta. Wherever there's an asura, there will be a devta. There will be somebody out there who's paying the bill, which is not for the asura in some form or the other. And then, of course, the last kind of being is the Rakshas, which khud ka bhala ho chahe no, dusra ka bhala ho chahe no, sarvanashi karna hai. There's a destructive element of cynicism, lack of belief, lack of application of mind. You know, we were given a case study, we were given 7 days to study it, and we still didn't study it, and we didn't do what was expected of us. It is pure destructive instinct. Because nobody benefits. Did you benefit? No. Did ISTD benefit? No. Did I benefit? No. It only destroys value. It's a sarvanash, it's a rakshas. So that's one of the reasons I teach this course, is that between HR and business strategy, there needs to be a mutual win-win. And it's not a perfect world. There will be occasions when we'll be behaving like devtas, or we'll be behaving like asuras, or we might even be behaving like rakshas. But the idea is to move in the right direction, where we can establish a win-win. And to me, Nakamura at Matsushita did try to establish that win-win.
Ma'am, I am in an organization here where I'm presently working. I just would like to cite it because this is the first time I'm experiencing this. There are people who are working here for 12 years without any promotion or without having the power, decision making power that we all aspire for if we are spending that much amount of time in any organization.
And you are
And
the
they are very resistant to whoever is coming from outside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, exactly what you are right now saying and what we saw in this.
So the
Yeah,
organization is a devta keeping such non-productive people. And they
correct.
become the asuras too. They become asuras.
And they don't even realize that they are spoiling their own life. This can never go on forever.
So eventually one party or the other will die.
Has to die because this is not at all working out. And they're just not understanding it, and neither are they ready for the new people the company is hiring.
Long time. Like in public sectors, it's continued for years and years and years. And even today, there's no will to take care. I mean, you walk into a bank, a nationalized bank, there are people sitting there doing nothing. People have not been productive at all. They're doing.
And that is with our tax money. The tax that we are paying, they are getting as paid as salaries from our tax money, and they are not giving us anything in return. And that is so
Look at the
frustrating.
educational sector. Look at the educational sector. There are professors who are publishing journals in journals that nobody reads. And they are getting promoted from assistant professor to associate professor to professors in the public domain, public universities. I'm talking about the public universities.
So there's so much of heartburn. But like I said, it's not a perfect world. It's a journey, not a destination. So we try and move closer and closer to mutuality and win-win. So if you're the HR for this company, I didn't get the name of the person, the lady who just spoke, because it's not showing up on my screen. But
That was me, ma'am, Sneha.
So if you are the HR person, then it's for you to make a shift and start making a shift to moving your company towards more mutuality.
I'm trying my best, ma'am. So just hope that I will be able to make a difference here. The organization needs it because the management is really very good and nice. So they find it really difficult to say no to someone or put people in place.
Management is the devta. Management is a devta.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely.
Very difficult to dislodge that devtapan. Anyway, I want to move on. We can have a private conversation on this if it's evoking you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to actually begin my lecture for the day. We are already 1 hour into our class, but fortunately, there's not much of lecture today. So we are going to talk about analysis of internal and external environment. Last time we spoke about, there was an article which I sent out. There was a quiz. So I'm not going to do the quiz now because the article was sent out. And there's not enough time now to do that quiz. So today we want to focus on internal environment analysis. If I have time in the end, 5 minutes, we'll come back to the quiz because the quiz is an interesting one. Everybody heard of the BCG matrix?
Yes, ma'am, I heard.
A BCG matrix is when you look inside the company to analyze what are your strengths and weaknesses, one of the big things
Consulting group.
is at your product portfolio. Okay, you have a range of products and you have a range of portfolios. So what is the kind of product portfolio? And you generally tend to put them, suppose you're a Hindustan Unilever, you'll put them into 4 categories, and you will say that, okay, in a certain product, I have a high market share and I have a high market growth rate. So these are your these are your stars. So when you have a person who is producing very well, who's giving you very good outcome, or you have a product which is giving you excellent outcomes, got a good growth rate, this is a star product. And you have to invest in the star to take it to the maximum. Then you have some place where the market share is relatively high, but growth is not much. Say, take for example, a life boy or whatever. The market share is good, it's high, but it's not a growing market, it's a stable market. These are your cash cows, which you have to keep milking, because they may not grow many more volumes, but they're giving you very good revenue. So you must maintain your market share and keep milking these cash cows. And then there is a situation where you have low market share, but low growth rate also. So these are dogs. We call them dogs because you've got you've got low market share and low growth rate. These are dogs. You got to take a decision whether you want to disinvest or you don't, want to continue with such products or such people anymore. They're not producing any outcomes. And then the last is, you might have some products where it's a small amount of market share. It's a small amount of growth rate, but a small amount of market share, but a large growth rate. Sorry, it's got a low market share, but large growth rate. So you really want to question whether you want to be in this market or not, because there's a potential for it to grow, but then you've got too much of competition, whether you want to grow it or not. So this is a matrix that helps you understand what products to invest in and what strategies to build for what products. Right. So that is something that comes here. I can request everyone to mute themselves if they're not. Everybody knows the SWOT analysis.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody
Yes,
knows
ma'am.
the SWOT analysis, the strengths,
Yes.
the opportunities.
Yes, ma'am.
Threats. So you do that analysis to understand your internal capabilities and what you should invest in and what you should not invest in. And this is a little bit more detail on what an HR strategy SWOT would look like. A little bit more detail on that. Then there's another internal environment analysis model that we deploy, which is called the value chain analysis, which is what is the chain of processes and products by which we create value. So maybe my raw material input cost is say 100 rupees, and I create value, I do something, and I'm able to sell that at 200 rupees. But there's something I have done. So like, for example, I might be in a restaurant or a hotel business. I buy vegetables, I buy spices, I buy oil, and I pay, there's a whole value chain, and it becomes like a dish which I serve to my customer in the restaurant. My raw material cost is generally 20 to 30% of what I'm selling that dish for. All right. So generally, that's the rule of thumb, that your raw material costs are 30% for what your product value really is. That's a general rule of thumb. It may be different for different. But what is it that adds value along the way? So the hygiene of the cooking, that adds value, or the flavors of the cooking, or how much on trend you are, the market analysis that's done, the chef that you hire, the brand that you have, the reputation that you have. So you look at all the places where you add value, because you're selling something worth 100 rupees, you're adding value to make it worth 250 rupees on the table, right? So you do that analysis so that you understand where the value really lies. And then you say, hey, listen, in my business, my market, I want to aim at premium segment. So the name and reputation of the chef is very important. So I will hire the best chef and pay him a phenomenal amount of money because his brand is what's going to build the restaurant. Right? And I can sell not only for 250, but I can sell for maybe 700 or 800 rupees for that dish because my chef is like that and my play positioning is like that. So this value chain analysis actually helps me look at where I want to invest and where I don't want to invest. And how do I invest? How do I strategize my value chain so that I am able to deliver the profit that I want in the market that I want? So this is the value chain analysis. Then there's something called gap analysis. Okay, I want to get from here, I want to increase my market share by say 2% or 5%, all right, or even more than that or less than that. Okay, where is the gap? Today my market share is at 10%, I want to go to 15%, or my market share is at 60%, I want to go to 65%. So what is the gap? Where does the gap, how does it show up? What areas are my weaknesses in this gap? And so the difference between your current state and your desired state, and what are the actions you will take to get there. That is also one form of internal environment analysis. Then for some companies, it's important to do work in an excellent manner, in a better manner, because they find that the more they invest in building business excellence, the more they invest in developing business excellence, the more likely the profits are. There are n number of research studies that have been done that say companies that invest in business excellence actually make significant more profits than companies that don't invest in business excellence. So then came Malcolm Baldrige, who developed a business excellence model based upon the processes that a company deploys. So then they have a list of all the processes in these different categories. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for example, let's take HR, which is the workforce focus. So in workforce focus, they have certain business processes which they say should be a very vital part of it. And then they look at each process in the company. How is it designed? Is it designed in the right manner? How is it deployed? Is it communicated and deployed in the right manner? And what kind of results or impact it has? So 3 levels of analysis done of each process under the Malcolm Baldrige. So design, deployment, and impact. So all these 3. And then based upon this kind of an analysis of your internal processes, you're able to look at some kind of a movement towards business excellence and some kind of a movement towards better ways of doing things. That is, in a nutshell, what Malcolm Baldrige business excellence model is about. Then comes the very popular and very famous balanced scorecard. And I'm only going to slightly introduce it to you here because we've got a whole session on balanced scorecard and HR scorecard, which is coming later. So up until, when this balanced scorecard came into existence, the holy grail or the desire for every CEO was that I must have business goals simplified, and each business goal must be simplified in a way that people can understand and people know what is expected of them, and then they all go around achieving those goals. So till then, there was no real model that would guide them. But when the balanced scorecard came, they said, okay, there are only 4 kinds of goals. Everybody should have the same goals. And everybody should be able to move in the same direction so that everything is streamlined. Okay, so these are the 4 areas in which they said goals are important and business must move forward based upon this. That's why it's called a balanced scorecard, because this is not everything the company does, but this is the most important part of what the company does. So like, for example, when you're watching a cricket match, you look at a cricket game and there is a scorecard which is there, and the scorecard tells you run by run, how the runs are getting made. And then there's some statistics that tell you what is the run rate and what's the bowling rate. And, then it tells you some more statistics and then there are more statistics about each historical statistics. But all that doesn't show up on the scorecard. There are a lot of statistics. When you'll have Harsha Bhokle as a commentator, he will bring out some statistic from somewhere, which is very interesting fact. but it doesn't really change the scorecard in any way. So same way in the balanced scorecard, there is a lot of data in the organization, a lot of things the companies do, but only these four are looked at because these are the most important ones. It doesn't mean the rest are not even addressed. The rest are also looked at, but these four are primary. They cover most of what is important and what is relevant. I will be taking a balanced scorecard one more time when we do our session there. There is no scope for. Is there a scope for this case study? There is. Let's go back to our. Okay. That was fast. I thought I was running out of a lot of time, so I went through the models very fast. Any questions so far? Any thoughts? Any comments? Is it very clear? Malcolm Baldrige, in a nutshell, I've said it. Or balanced scorecard or BCG metrics. There are many other ways also of doing internal environment analysis, but these are the ones that are the most popular. So I want to go back to the quiz that we had scheduled for the day.
Ma'am, I have a question. No, I'm not a question, but I want to understand an analysis from your point of view. That what this is Ishan. That what actually the ideal situation should be to encounter. See, my value chain analysis at my organization is doing very well. But
Yes.
somehow the other way, I don't find that the management or the upper management in that case is focusing more towards this SWOT analysis. So let's take an example. We have in our organizations business reviews and AEMs and all those things which come across, wherein we set up a agenda that this is what the targets and all those things are, and then we talk about the weaknesses, the opportunities, threats, and everything. But somehow the other way, we don't focus on what actually our core strength is all about, and then we mingle it with the SWOT or the value chain. That our value is something different, and then our strength is not there. We are not even highlighting those aspects.
So there could be some reasons for that. It's not that everybody should do a SWOT analysis. It's not mandatory. Like I said, when it comes to business strategy, there is a continuum. All right. And some companies are doing very structured and very data-based and research-based strategic analysis and deciding what they have to do. All right. And some companies, particularly family managed companies and also MSMEs and SMEs, they do not really have a strategic planning department. But what they do have is the owner promoter does think strategically. The owner promoter does think strategically, and he's probably done a lot of thinking in his own head and understood what his culture is, and he knows ye mere ko jamta hai, ye mere ko nahi jamta. But kyun nahi jamta, I cannot say. But he knows what works and what doesn't work. And his gut feel is actually quite right and quite accurate. So it could be that scenario also. So there's no need to do a SWOT analysis because we already know it intrinsically. All right. Today, the world is moving towards more and more data analytics and more data-based, evidence-based decision making. So because if we say we are not doing a SWOT analysis, half the janta will say we need to do, half the janta will say we don't need to do. Then how do you bring them together? So when we do a data-based decision making, nobody can disagree. These are our strengths, these are our weaknesses, these are our opportunities, these are our strengths. Nobody can disagree because there's data to support. So there is a big case for data-based decision making. So there is a big case for your company to even move in that direction of data-based decision making. So you need to ask yourself, what is the nature of awareness of the people who are driving the business and business strategy? And are they really thinking strategically, or they're not even thinking strategically? So it's very difficult to say for me right now what would be a good recommendation for you till I don't talk to, meet, and understand what is the nature of their thinking. Are they thinking strategically, and whether they've done an external and internal environment analysis regardless of that. Now, you as an HR person have some limited influencing capability, but the influencing capability must still happen. And you must still try and exercise it to try and influence the management to think in more data-based and more evidence-based kind of ways. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but it's a complex thing. Like I said,
Indeed, ma'am. Correct, ma'am. Your understanding is what I am also, in a sync. I'm in sync with your thoughts and your aspects. But yes, as you said that we would have to discuss and get deep into the situation and then understand where is that where we are lagging out.
but also remember one more fact is that the effects of HR are limited. If the top management doesn't want it, it won't happen. Culture and strategy flow from top down. Very clear. Culture and strategy flow from top down. So as a CHRO, there's only so much you can do if the rest of the culture is not with you or if the leadership is not with you. Right? Okay, so that is also there. So which of these three questions is one of the three questions that is imperative for HRBP to answer? That's my question. A, how has change impacted the organization in the past 12 months and what is the likely future scenario? B, how can HR service the organization with lesser staff? C, what aspects of HR can be outsourced to vendors? And D, where to source the best talent for the organization? Which is
A.
the best answer?
D. I'll go with D, ma'am.
I would go with D.
Okay.
D, ma'am.
HRBP, where to source the best talent cannot be a wrong. Actually, the first one is the most imperative question. If you look at section 1.4 in the article I sent you an article last class. If you look at section 1.4 of the article, it will say what is the most imperative is how has changed impacted the organization last 12 months and what is the future scenario. This is as per the article. Which of these factors cause problems in proper partnering with business? A, HR professionals are amongst the highly trained and educated people in the organizations. B, HR managers create great partnering strategies and communicate it well, but fail to account for organizational culture and adapting to change. C, managers are well prepared for strategy initiatives. And D, CEOs want HRs to partner with them.
Ma'am,
B.
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 B, B, B.
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 D.
Between B and D. The
B.
right answer is B, that HR managers create great strategy. We communicate it well, but we do not account for culture. There's one very famous statement which I keep making is culture eats strategy for breakfast. And then I say culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if your culture is not with you, if people are laid back and expecting job satisfaction and expecting job lifelong employment without having to contribute, and everybody gets a promotion anyway. If your employees are like that, then talking about bottom line orientation and result orientation is pointless. So we do not account for organization culture. We think that we should have great systems, we should have great processes, we should have great solutions to all these problems, but we fail to account, okay, if I put a process in place, no one's going to follow it, what's the point? So the solution lies in working for organization culture, and then that is the starting point for your strategy. One of the early signs of good HR business partnership is leaner HR organization with fewer staff, successful implementation of IT applications, delighted line managers, and well outsourced HR functions. This is a trick question.
C, ma'am. Delighted line managers.
Delighted line managers.
Oh, wow,
Delighted line managers.
everyone's getting it right. Okay, that means either you've read the article or you've really done your thinking through. You're right, actually, it is delighted line managers. The first thing that happens is when you start talking their language, they are very happy. If you don't talk their language, then they I've seen so many line managers say, "Arey, that HR manager, he just doesn't know what is needed. He doesn't have his act together."
We are
Because
very happy when staff helps us.
we are very
Staff,
happy when they give us
staff
the
managers help us.
absolutely. So
Madam, I'd like to go back to the second question you put, just to link what you said, that culture and strategy flows from the top. This would also answer the question which one of the participants had, in which he said that people are working in the organization for 12 years and they are not committed. So this has to come from the top, and everybody has to understand that in his sphere of responsibility or accountability or the power which he has, if he becomes committed to that and he leads it, then the change can occur. So that is the cultural changes which I think.
agreed. If you replay the recording of this session, you will find that answer was already embedded in what I told him.
Okay.
I tell him that you can influence the management to
Yes.
look at things differently, but just remember the effects of HR are limited. If the leadership doesn't want it, it will not happen.
Yes, yes. That's
Said
too much.
words. Thanks, Ajay, for that.
Thank you.
Okay. And number 5 is HR business partners need to be good at reading financial statements because A, it helps to understand business better. B, it helps to track the metrics that drive short-term and long. Ramesh, please note. C, it helps track the metrics that drive, sorry, B, it helps track the metrics that drive short-term.
Short-term and long-term goals.
B.
B, ma'am.
B.
It's B, ma'am.
B, ma'am.
Which is it? B.
Yes.
B.
B.
Delta.
You're right, B. It's there in section 7.1 of the article I sent you. Has to track the metrics. Sometimes, our metrics are not perfect. So, for example, we will have something called an employee satisfaction index. All right. It's given us something. There's no real way of measuring employee satisfaction or employee morale. There's no real way. So we ask a lot of questions that indicate to us that yes, there is some. The purpose is not to have an absolute measure. The purpose sometimes to have a relative measure. So last year my employee satisfaction was 7 on 10. This year I'm going to make it 8 on 10. All right. So I measure it next year and I say now we have improved or we've. So sometimes it helps only to track the long-term and short-term performance. It's not necessarily measures, but that's something that is done. Okay, so we are done for the class. So I'm going to ask you to open your course material. There is a case study on page 63. It used to be every year the pages change because something goes wrong in the printing, something changes in the printing, the font size or the printer or the computer. So please see if there is a McDonald's 5 forces analysis case study in your books.
It's page 63 only, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So on page 63, I want you to read the case study and answer the questions at the end. All right. And send in your answers to me before 29th Saturday, which is our next class.
I think 24th one.
29th is a Friday, ma'am.
29th is a Friday?
Yes.
24th.
24th, that's the next week.
Yeah, 24th is
Class is on 24th, ma'am.
there's no class on 24th. It's a holy day that day.
Okay.
There will likely be no class. So on 30th of March is your next class. And I would like you to send it to me. I doubt it's a class on holy day. I have changed the date in that 2029 I've put over there by mistake. Okay. Send me before 10 a.m. on Saturday, 30th March 2024 in a PowerPoint format. Don't send it.
Ma'am, it's 2029 March.
Supposed to.
I admitted my mistake. Can you not? Can it just be a little bit?
Yeah, that's okay.
I
Can understand, ma'am. It's okay.
We have got the point, ma'am. No
a
problem.
chartered accountant by any chance? Huh? This is called a red pencil mentality.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So send me your email. Send me an email. You have my email ID. Send me an email before 10 a.m. on Saturday, 30th of March 2024 in a PowerPoint format. All right. The participant who sends the best response, I would expect everyone to send me. The best one, I will get to give 5 to 7 minutes to present to the rest of the group in the next session. Don't miss this opportunity.
Sure, ma'am.
Yes, I look forward to lots of submissions, and I will be also sending you the SHRM Foundation's effective practice guidelines on HR strategy adapting to the age of globalization. Any questions or thoughts?
Will you be sharing the article, ma'am, on SHRM?
Yes, I will send you this article. And
It is already written through mail.
this is another article I will be sending. It's another. The case study is also somebody please share with Wafi. She's not received her book. So page 3, she doesn't know. Somebody please share the book with her or share that screenshot of that.
Yes, ma'am. I just informed her I will be sharing the same with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anybody who does not have the book, page 60, there's a case study. I would like you to do the analysis and send. Very, very interesting case study. It'll help you understand something of what business strategy people do. So far, we've been talking a lot of theory, but this is actually doing some of it. Okay, any questions? Then that's all for today.
Happy Holi, ma'am.
Happy Holi to everybody. See you on the 31st.
Happy Holi, ma'am.
See you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Thank
you.
Happy Holi.
Happy Holi, ma'am. Yeah.
Happy Holi and thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Wish you a very
Bye,
happy Holi.
ma'am.